What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I am currently underneath the shop truck. The acoustics are amazing under here. I should film more videos from here. I'm going to do a little update on what's going on. So it's been quite a while since I had a video in the shop truck series. What I'm doing today, as you can see, hopefully, is I'm putting an electric fuel pump on. And this is a little bit of deja vu. I've done this on a few older vehicles, one of which I won't really get into, but it had a camshaft issue where the fuel lobe on the camshaft was worn down, and that was going to be quite a job to make the original mechanical pump work. So we opted to switch over. My issue in particular is that I put a new fuel pump, mechanical, on this truck when I got it about 3 years ago, and it's kind of had fuel issues ever since, and it had an electric pump on it originally, just kind of daisy-chained, wired up in the hood, not very good. So I've kind of realized now that I'm trying to get it running again that the pump has no pressure. I've bottle-fed the pump directly and looked at the outlet directly, and I don't get any fuel through the mechanical pump. So I'm switching to an electric pump. And I also, last night, got the carburetor all cleaned up. So, rebuilt the carburetor. I had a hole in the float, so the float was sinking. And so, hopefully, with this pump on, I think we've got spark. I'm not 100%, but pretty sure. We're going to find out if this thing's going to run today. So, I'm just finishing up the wiring and the plumbing on the pump. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to set you up or not. I'll sure try. But I think I've got about 20 minutes, well, maybe 15 minutes without cutting the video to actually giving this thing a try. So I'll try to go quick. Maybe we can cut that down to 10 minutes. We'll see what happens. I don't know why I always wait until winter is setting in or here to work on projects. It's just like a last minute feeling type thing, I guess, that I end up with. But I could have been out here all summer long in the nice warm weather, but I chose to come out here now. Okay, so I've got that attached to my keyed 12 volts. I'm gonna zip tie this up nicely to this line just to get it out of the way, but for now, for testing purposes, we'll go with that. And I've got my inlet line attached. It was steel up to like a two-way valve to go between the two tanks. The one tank has a couple holes in it, so what I'm going to end up doing is just eliminate that valve altogether. Got some noise. And I'm just running direct to the one tank, so okay, got our outlet attached. I got the ground wire. I'll show you guys just before I turn the camera on. Got the ground wire attached. I just cleaned up a little bit of the frame there and bolted that. And again, I will be zip tying this up to make it look nice. But for now, just for the purposes of the video, to get this done in a little bit of a hurry, try and get this up where I can reach it. We just got to go hook that up to the carburetor, turn the key on and make sure that our pump is pumping, and see if we're actually getting fuel. Then we'll be ready to give it a shot. Oh man, it's about the 10th time I've been underneath this thing. Now, pull the line up here. And again, I'll be routing this much cleaner. I don't want it anywhere near the manifold, obviously, so we might even go on the other side of that ground, that ugly looking ground down there that I'll probably replace later. Sorry for the camera. Let me set you guys up so you're not watching all this. There you go. Anyway, I'm just kind of slowly chipping away at this truck when I get time. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to work on my own stuff, as you guys are well aware of. Okay, so we're running up there, and I'm going to clean that up later, so I want to leave plenty of excess right now. But for starters, I'm just going to put this line kind of just here over the edge, turn the key on, and we'll come out and just see if we're getting fuel, and I'll shut it off real quick. Here's a look at what I did out of the tank. So it was originally steel, as I said, and I would have kept the steel, but it actually twisted off. My line was, where did I toss that? Here we go. My line was seized up in the nut, and so that just twisted off. I tried to spray it, let it soak, didn't make any difference. So that twisted off. I ended up just cutting it right there, so I do still have the factory steel line if and when I switch back to that, but I got a 8-inch piece of 5/16 brake line, cut the end off and flared it, put just a slight bend in it and attached it to my original tank outlet, and then slid the 5/16 rubber line over that. So it's pretty clean, should work fine. And put a little bit of gas in the tank. We'll see what happens. I don't know that I hear the pump running. I'm just going to confirm our voltage here, and unfortunately I can't find my meter, so I just have this test light. But I went right here on the ignition coil, and you can see there we've got power, so maybe we have a ground issue down there. Actually, I take that back. I do hear the pump running. I don't know if you guys can hear that. So I may have a supply issue ahead of the pump. Yeah, I think it's running. I got so much dang noise around here I can't hear a thing. I'm gonna turn that off again, wait for this truck to leave. Nope, I don't think our pump's running. I would hear it much louder than that. Alright, time for some diagnosis. I'm gonna leave the key on. Take my test light and we'll head under there and see what the deal is. Definitely not running. I would assume I've got a ground to the frame right there, but maybe I didn't clean it up enough. Let's give that a little wiggle. Let's see what happens. Try to find a spot for you guys. Yeah, I guess I assumed there'd be a ground there, which maybe powers my issue. Huh. Well, we might have to throw a to be continued on this video, guys. Sorry about that. I'll just check for power here on our... No. But I'm using our ground as well. Yep, I'm going to mess with this a little more. Probably come back with a part 2 in just a second once I find the answer. Stay tuned. We got it! Wow. Just a couple minutes after I shut the video off, unfortunately. This key switch, which I've also replaced, is very touchy all of a sudden. If I turn it to what should be the on position, there's a little bit of a wiggle where it's not actually on. So I thought I had the key on. Simple mistake. Did not have the key on. So now we have fuel. Wow, I'm glad I didn't dig around too long for that. Could have dug through a lot of stuff unnecessarily. Okay, so something else I wanted to do, just because the gas has not been run through this tank in years, is throw a clear filter on it. Got that here. And actually just run the gas out into like a bucket or whatever, back into the gas can, something where I can filter it, take a look at the filter. If it's clean, I'll just hook it right up. If it's very dirty, I'll just keep running it until we get clean fuel. So anyway, I'm just gonna hook this up to our line. I'll try and set you guys up somewhere where you can see this. Well, that's not great. I might grab the tripod if I need to. Alright, so we got a brand new filter. Clean, you just saw me take it out of the box. And then I've got just my gas can. Although a clear container would be nice. I don't have one. Alright, I'm just gonna go kick that on. We'll stick that in there and see what we end up with. Nice. What a treat to finally have fuel after so long battling this. Hopefully you guys can see all right. There's also an additional filter ahead of the pump, so I don't anticipate that we'll get much here, if anything. One thing I'm afraid of is that pump filter is going to get clogged up pretty quick and I'll need to replace that. Probably should have put a filter ahead of the pump filter. I might still do that. We'll see what we end up with here. That looks really pretty clean. So I think just to see if this thing's gonna run, I'm just gonna go with that. I'll shut the key off here. Alright, so I'm gonna grab a real short piece of line to hook up there. Alright, got that solved. It was really no big deal. I shut the camera off and a couple minutes later figured out my key inside my ignition cylinder, the ignition switch, is a little bit loose, and I don't know why, because I just bought this about a year ago. But anyway, from on position, there's just a little bit of a wiggle in the switch to where it does not make contact. So therefore I don't have 12 volts, and that's what had happened. Is I thought I had it on, and I did have it on, but it wasn't making connection, so we didn't actually have our 12 volts. Anyway, got that figured out, hooked up the line, and it started almost right away. So I'm very happy with that. And I haven't done any tuning on the carburetor. I put it back together last night, and it's working. So I'm just going to let it warm up for a little bit, and then we will adjust our carburetor mixture and get it purring just right. Then all I've got to do is zip tie that line, or that 12 volt wire, and then clean up my inlet hose, and we're good to go. I think I'll go with the filter right up on top there so it's accessible. And yeah, I'm thrilled. So I'll set you guys up while it warms up here for a second. I've just got the manual throttle turned up, so that's why it's idling so high. But I'll go in and turn that down, and we'll make some adjustments here. I'm going to throw my RPM gauge on here on my timing light. It's really hard for me to hear it, if I'm actually making a difference or not. So we'll just take a look at that and try to shoot for the best RPM there. And I forgot just now, I've got a vacuum line unattached on the back of the carburetor there. So let me get that. Ideally, I would want to set this with the air cleaner on, but it makes access so difficult. I'm going to try to do it with it off. So ideally we want cylinder 1, but that would be for timing. We're just looking for our tachometer, so we can choose any of the 8. We can go right on our alternator here. Alright, so there's our RPM, sitting about 410, 420. I'll try my best to hold this for you guys so you can see it while we go. There, how about that? 410 still. I'm just going all the way in so I know where we're at. We're half out, 1 out, 1.5 out. Generally that's a good rule to start with, so we'll go 1.5 on the other side now. Still sitting at our 420. Half, 1.5. There's 2 out, and we're jumping up near 430 now. Only occasionally. We'll try 2 3/4. Or sorry, 2 1/4. There's 2.5. We haven't hit that 430 again, so I'm going to go back in. Back to 2 1/4. Haven't hit the 430, so we'll go back to 2. There, we just hit 430. I think I'm going to leave it right there at 2. And let's turn our idle up just a touch. Right around 500 should be good. I can check the specs on that. Let's see how it likes a little bit of throttle. like that. Alright. I'm just going to tidy up the lines, throw the air cleaner on, and we'll go for a ride. I'm going to try my best to, we'll have a part 3, but I'm going to try to put these all in one video, so you're not having to follow me across 3 videos. So stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have a part 3 in just a second. Alright guys, we are back in the saddle. Got my brake fluid filled up, and as usual, it takes a couple pumps for me to have brakes. We will address that later, but I do know that it'll stop. We'll just do a little test here. A little bit of smoke. That's probably our head gasket. This thing needs work, but that's okay. We're planning to do it here in the future. Leave a nice cloud of smoke behind us. And check our brakes. Yep, came to a stop. I'm just gonna let the smoke clear here, drive around the block for a second. We did it. Still smoking a little. Yeah, I'd like to do, I'll try and show you guys out the back while we're driving here. It's kind of tricky driving a stick and filming at the same time. I'd like to do intake gaskets, head gaskets, kind of the whole works on this thing in the near future, probably in the spring if I get to it, which you know how that goes. Not smoking too bad now. So I think we'll take her out on the road. The lights are working, I confirmed that. I didn't check the brake lights, and I have 3 cab lights out, which is no big deal. Make sure our horn works. Got that wired in since I saw you guys last with this series. Kind of did my own horn relay and wiring kit, but I'm using the original horn that was with the truck. It might not be the original horn, but it was the one that came with the truck when I bought it, so I was happy about that. I'm going to try to focus on driving here because getting this thing started and stopped without hurting anybody is sometimes a challenge. We've got her in high, and usually start out in second because that's all you need. It's not wanting to go in. There we go. I'm just missing gears. It's been a while. Make sure we're going to stop here at the stoplight. That is nerve-wracking too. Almost killed it. I may have to drop you guys last minute, so be ready for that. Starting in second again. And second is next to super low on this. I'll show you the shift pattern here in a second once I pull into the station. And shoot, he's gonna take my spot. I just switched today from the driver's side gas tank to the passenger side. I don't know if I mentioned that on the last video or not with this. I think I did. That the driver's side tank had a couple of holes in it, so it was slowly leaking, and I wanted to get away from that. So we're now using the passenger tank. So I'll try to pull that in the right spot. Should be pretty close. So here's the shift pattern it's talking about. Anyway, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more in this series, and I'll see you on the next one.